Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 19, Failed Experiments. So in this episode, we have the whole team going after both Ward and Daisy, or Hive and Daisy if you prefer. And the way everything played out, I thought was actually pretty exciting. We had, even at the base, we had a pretty interesting mission with Lincoln deciding he's just gonna go all out. I mean, they've been showing his character is getting kind of pushed to the edge because he cares maybe too much about Daisy. He's like a little too in love with her. He's in love with her, so it's clearly messing with just the logical side of his brain. He was in the last episode. I kind of was on his side a little bit, like with the threat and everything, because it was like, oh, he wasn't actually gonna do it, and that led the woman to like shoot her clone and stuff, which is clearly from Hive more than his standpoint. But like May was kind of blaming him, like you threatened to torture her and stuff, and it's like, well, they've done that type of stuff before. Like, they've beaten people up and kidnapped people and tortured people before. Very rarely they've tortured people, but I was like, it's not like they've never done anything like extreme like that. And he never thought it would play out because obviously, with who he was going up against, it's like she's not gonna shoot one of her own clones. And obviously, he didn't understand exactly how deep things went, with the Hive stuff. So, with them pushing him even further in this episode, it's like, we might find a cure if I do this. Boom. No guessing games, none of that crap. And it fails. Like, it goes through, we go through the whole thing. They have a cool moment, once again, with his powers. They show, like, cool stuff we haven't seen before. But him, after he injects himself and his powers, like, go wild, and it's just like a lightning storm shooting out of his body, I thought that was really cool. He was, I can't think of those things, but he was like one of the, lightning rod, basically. Or the reverse of a lightning rod, because he was shooting lightning out of himself. But it was really cool. I was like, that looked really cool. It's a short little scene. And then he passes out. Whole episode is him sick, and he finds out that the tissue sample that they need is actually from his brain and stuff. Goes through all these things, and he's freaking out at the end when Simmons goes to see him. And it's like, I have to be out there to get Daisy back. And all that stuff, is just falling apart. And he's trapped in this room, and it's like, despite everything you went through, jumping over us and just taking this, whatever concoction was, it didn't mean anything. Ultimately, it failed. And, like, you who knows how long he's going to be down there. I mean, they might just skip enough time to where he's healed by the next episode. But it's just like, man, he went through all these hoops. It's like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do to save Daisy. And it failed. It's just not working again for him. So I don't know how far they're going to push his character by the end of the season, which we're very close to. I think it might only be one more episode. I'm behind one episode, so it might only be one more episode left, possibly two. But it was pretty fun just watching that. And then the actual mission itself was really entertaining. We got to see the first experiment with the former Hydra members and the scientists, and he's like, okay, we're ready to do this. Completely falls apart. All those people melt and stuff, and it's like, alright, that didn't work. We're going to need actual Kree blood. And they bring in the Kree, which we actually see in the beginning of the episode as well. We get to see the original version of Hive, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought that was really cool, and it takes us all the way back to him as a hunter and stuff when he gets turned into an inhuman. The first inhuman, really. So what I would love to see is another flashback when he first died, because I'm curious what his power initially was. Like, was his power the thing where he can infect people, and that just manifested when he died, like, as this actual bug creature sort of thing? Or, what was the case with that? I would love to know how he first realized, this is how I go from my first body to the next body and I take it over. So I would love for us to get like another flashback that gives us a bit more information after he turned, because it stopped. Excuse me. It was like, alright, we got the experiments. He has the needle shoved in his neck and the blood pumps through, and he goes into like the chrysalis, and that was it. And it was like, that's when I first became an inhuman. It's like, okay, nothing after that. Nothing about him first discovering what his powers specifically were, because I'm assuming he didn't just turn into a bug and he went into another body. Although you never know, that could be something crazy that happened. But I'd love to get a little bit more explanation on how he knew he could transfer from body to body, and what powers did he develop over time after becoming the sort of creature that inhabits other beings, and what powers did he have from the very beginning. I'd love to learn that before we're ending with this season. But it was really cool to see the Kree early on in the episode, and then we got to see them actually come back later on when Hive sends up the signal and stuff. And they come down, they have to fight, they kind of split them off and they have two of them fighting. And it was really cool. And the one that they had fighting against Ward, the way they finished that, where he just ends the fight and he like, it was kind of like he just burned the face away and was just like wiping it down to the bone and stuff. Visually, I think that just looks really great because it's not like instantaneous where it's just like poof and it's like a flash and everything just flies off. It's slow and it's like it's almost like every cell specifically is like being taken off piece by piece, just done really quickly, and it just wipes it down. And he was doing it at a specific corner, so it was like slowly going down to the bone and everything. And I was like, this looks really cool, just the way they visualize it. And then when they took the shots and everything, I was really excited to see how it looked. And they have the woman shoot him with the shoot Hive with the grenade launcher, and it wasn't as big as I thought because it was a grenade launcher. I thought it was gonna blow like a bigger hole and we see it heal up, but we got to see enough, and it was kind of bubbling up a little bit, and it looked blue. It looked kind of blue underneath the normal human-looking skin. So I was like, that's fairly interesting, and I just enjoy those. Like visually, that looks pretty cool, and of course, everyone takes off after that, and then we have Daisy and Mac because Mac is like in this really weird state. He's not as far gone as Lincoln, but he's pretty far gone because he shouldn't have taken such a crazy risk. And he goes out and he tries to talk with Sky because he believes that there's some part of her that is still really her. It's still connected to the rest of the team. And I feel like he's right. I mean, based on this episode, I think he was 100% right. And another scene that really spoke to that is when Daisy was talking with Hive, and it's like, oh, I want to, I want my friends to become inhumans just like me. I want them to join us. And I was like, well, what if you can't convince them? What if they turn against us and they try to stop us and they get in our way? And when she says, I'll rip their heart out, he's like, oh, hearing that pleases me. And I was like, if this was like 100% mind control, there should, he shouldn't have any sort of doubts and stuff like that. So as soon as he said that, I was like, him saying that intrigues me because that means it's not 100%. It means that there are drives, certain parts of the human brain, or inhuman in this case, that just cannot be controlled. Like that connection she has with this team, who really are like her family, even though the Hive manipulation thing is like, well, this is my new family and they're actually inhumans. But that connection is still there. And of course, she could have killed Mac. Like, she wasn't even like breaking his arms and stuff. She was like pushing his arms down. And she could have just been like, boom. Like, I mean, we saw what she did to the Kree. She hit his arm, broke it, hit his leg, broke it. And she like touched his back and snapped the spine. She could have easily done that to Mac. Like, she could have broke his arm, broke his other arm when he tried to hit her. And then, there's talking and her, like, she was tearing up and stuff because she didn't want to. And it finally came down to that last second when she finally chose to do it. And then, of course, May stops her when she shoots her in the arm. And it was like, yeah, Hive should definitely have a little bit of worry, at least. So I thought that was cool. It shows that it's not just 100%. If there's a certain portion of an inhuman that is so deeply rooted in other people or just something else, it can still affect them. They'll technically still do it, but they'll kind of take their time and they'll do it a lot slower and stuff like that. So I thought it was cool that they kind of showed us that that's still in there, at least for Daisy. Unfortunately, after everything fails and Hive is like, oh, it's clear I should have doubts with you and stuff like that. She's like, don't doubt me and I have answers. And she mentioned the stuff about being brought back with the Kree blood. And that was interesting because I totally forgot about that. Clearly, just for the sake of having this episode, she forgot about that as well. But it was cool. I didn't mind because I love this episode, actually. So now she's going to be drained. And I would assume it's not actually going to drain her to the point where he kills her because Hive wouldn't, even to make more inhumans out of normal humans, I'm assuming Hive would want to save every inhuman that it currently exists. So I don't think they'll do it to like a crazy point. It'll be like, all right, this is enough for today, and they'll try to save it up. And that's probably how the team will have enough time to finally take them down. But I thought this was a pretty fun episode. Really enjoyed it. It had some good action to it. Just some crazy stuff like Lincoln just, like he really broke down, especially at the end. I loved that. And he was like about to cry and he's freaking out. And I'm like, he's going off the deep end real far. And Mac is he's going off the deep end a little bit as well, but not obviously not nearly as far as Lincoln is. But he's getting there in his own little way. And because we're so close to the end of the season, I'm sure everything will either get resolved or it's going to extend into the next season, which it easily could. I mean, we've technically only had Hive for the second half of this season, so they might extend that. Who knows if they're really going to be able to stop them within these last couple episodes. I would assume so, just because it's been like the big thing for this season, even before the creature actually showed up when they're on the planet and everything. But it's one of those villains where it's like I could easily see this extending into at least the second half of another season, or the next one, and then maybe they introduce another villain at the same time as they're wrapping up this one. Like some other villain comes in and it's like, crap, now we're dealing with both these things. Let's take this out first because we have at least more info or something like that. And then they go with the new villain afterwards or something. But certainly excited for the next one because I'm watching so much stuff online while I'm catching up. I don't know what the promos are, so I have no idea what the next episode is going to be like. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. Of course, I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, we have Daisy now with the revelation of her having the Kree blood. And it might take more of her blood because it's not 100% Kree blood. And maybe, I guess it kind of makes sense actually because it was like, well, we have all the blood that we need. And they didn't actually know about the Kree blood thing until this episode. And then it was like, oh, well, we already got Kree coming down. So I guess they didn't need that. She didn't need to know that or mention that, I guess, until this episode. But with them using her blood, how far do you guys think they're going to get with changing humans into inhumans? Because they know exactly what to do, and they just needed the right blood to do it. Unfortunately, first 3 people got melted away and died. But now they have like the tiny bit of actual Kree blood and then the sort of Daisy inhuman Kree blend of blood, which I guess is enough Kree blood because it technically did go through her system. So I definitely want to know how far you guys think they're going to get with their human to inhuman experiments within these next couple episodes. I think they'll get somewhere. I think they might at least do one person where it's like they actually turn a human character into an inhuman, and they'll probably test it on the scientists. I feel like that's always how it is whenever it's like some superhero thing. They always find the scientist always is like, this is it 100%. It's like, great. And they throw the scientist in to test it out. So I feel like that's going to happen to him. But they might do it on somebody else. I kind of doubt it. I think it'll be on the scientist. But I'd love to know your expectations on how far things are going to get before the finale. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below. Let me know. And thanks for watching.